Morning, everybody. 8:35 a.m. Welcome to my channel. Now, yesterday had quite the sell-off. Didn't even take out the overnight highs. And then what did we do? Just like I talked about in the morning. If we shot up there, went to the balance highs, we were going to go right back to where? The balance lows. It's exactly what we did. Now, of course, I nailed that analysis, but there's not much of a trade setup when you're in the middle of balance, and then I'm going to short the middle of balance, even though I thought we would go lower. So I watched it go lower, and then we swept liquidity of the balance lows, and then we kept closing back inside the balance range. So all I wanted to really do was look for a long. That long showed up. I did get long. Had a rip up in my direction. Probably came, I think, within like, I don't know, a couple of points within my target, maybe 3 or 4 points. Push back, went all the way back up, and then eventually tapped my break even, and then never would have hit my stop, and then wound up going higher. Now, when I reviewed the trade, I initially had 5 contracts, MES, with an 8 point stop. When I really looked at it, I could have did 6 contracts with a 6 point stop, and I would have hit a 12 point target. That would have hit. So, I mean, if I dialed in that risk a little bit better, I would have hit my target. And actually, I could have had my target and not been a 2 to 1, um, if I really wanted to yesterday. So the bottom line I'm taking from that trade was I waited for that all day. That was the only trade I took. I almost thought about taking the same entry around 39, around the, what was it, 68 39s. I almost took that long earlier in this session when the first time the market ripped up. But I wasn't confident at that point, which is fine. So the edge that I have was the wait and wait. And I don't usually like trading later in the day, but it's set up. So I don't really want to make that a habit because then you're in front of the screen too long. But that's what happened yesterday. Okay? And what did we do? Nothing again. We sold off back to the balance lows, and then we couldn't go lower. It's the tale of what our market just does now. Okay? And yesterday's sectors were all sorts of messed up. I mean, eventually we sold off, but it was, oh man, it was so wacky. Semis were up, but technology was down, like Apple was up. It was just like a mess. Right? But eventually gravity took over from the balance rules. Okay? Now, let's get right into it. Today we have some data. Got some Fed speak, got consumer confidence at 10 a.m. 9 p.m. It looks like we got President Trump of a State of the Union speech. Okay? So let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and bond profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my hedge. Okay. And I come up with game plans based on those things that I just told you about. All right. Now, hopefully, you join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert. I give you the market story, the economic calendar, the technical analysis, and I give you the long and short trade scenarios in the NASDAQ and the ES futures. Now, I've been going live every day. Hopefully, you join my Discord. It's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. All right, now moving on to futures watch list here. Okay. Crude in the VIX. So wish you'd have a very nice movement. Like we're at a 21.27 VIX. Crude's up 1.19, silver's up 0.78, Nasdaq's up 0.33, 10-year yield is up 0.27, dollar's up 0.21, Dow's up 0.17, ES is flat, Russell's flat, 30-year bonds are flat, gold down 1.30, Bitcoin is falling, down 2.34, so Bitcoin is getting some weakness here, Ethereum down 2.42%. All right, Mag 7 Plus. What do we have here? We have AMD partnered with Meta. They were up more than that earlier, but they're up over 9.5%. Okay. Apple's up 0.45, Netflix up 0.30, Microsoft up 0.15. All right, let's see here. Nvidia, Meta is down 0.43. Nvidia is down 0.60. Eli Lilly down 1.44 after a monster day yesterday. Coinbase down over 2% because of Bitcoin. Broadcom's down 2%. Broadcom's down 2%. Really, it's really wacky right now. Broadcom's down 2%. AMD's up almost 10%. And we'll get to the sectors. It's very wacky. This market is very wacky. Okay. Top sectors. Now, Home Depot reported earnings this morning, and I had a couple beats. Qualcomm is up 2.20%. Not sure exactly why. All right. Caterpillar up almost 0.5% now. Who's down this morning? Johnson & Johnson. Palantir continues to fall, down 1.33. And the mining stock is down 1.41. Sectors. Semiconductors with AMD. Now this is where there must be other semis that are up, okay? Because Broadcom's down, Nvidia's down, but semis, AMD obviously is up big time, right? Semis is up 1.30%. That's usually a risk on market. Technology is up 0.76, right? But the market is not doing that much, okay? So you got energy up 0.25, and then we have the laggard is healthcare with Eli Lilly. Now, real quick, we'll go back to this top sectors, and go to the little granular section here. Intuit up 6%. ANET, I think that's Arista, up 4.45. I think that's I forget who that is. GPC. I don't know why it's not Garmin. I'm not remembering what that is. All right, but let's just see. Intel's up. That's a semi. Lam Research is a semi. Micron's up. Semi. IBM's up. IBM got slammed yesterday. So that's a little bit of what's up. Let's see what's down here. Whirlpool's down. Hims reported earnings. They're down. Tandem Diabetes is down. All right. All right, let's move on. We already looked at sectors. Let's go to economic calendar. Okay. All right. So today we had ADP employment change. That's not really going to do much. We have Fed speak today. Consumer confidence at 10 a.m. That is not the one that usually moves the markets as much, but be wary of that. Okay. Then we got Fed speak, and I already said President Trump at 9 p.m. Okay. If we're going to look more at Trump, right? Let's see what he's got on the docket today. President participates in executive time at 9 a.m. 12:30, President participates in annual State of the Union luncheon. 9 p.m., State of the Union, we already talked about. All right, now if we go into some stock movers, here we go. If we go to some stock movers. All right, Home Depot stock rose 2.1 after the home improvement chain operated top estimates for the fourth quarter. Novo Nordisk stock dropped 2.9. JP Morgan downgraded drug making giant to neutral from overweight. Keurig Dr Pepper stock rose 2.1 after the salt drinks company reported fourth quarter results that exceed expectations. AMD stock surged 10% after the company agreed to sell up to $60 billion worth of artificial intelligence chips to Meta platforms. Hims and Hers stock slipped 4.3 at the online telehealth company forecast first quarter revenue below estimates. There you go. There's the news there. You don't need to go to the juice. And we're going to go to this little thing here. NVIDIA results are AI market's biggest test amid competitive worries. As NVIDIA heads into quarterly earnings on Wednesday, AI investors are seeking evidence for the chipmaker's profits are growing apace on the back of a $630 billion capital spending budget from big tech. But signs of risk to NVIDIA's long-held dominance are also emerging from hyperscalers' plans to design their own cheaper AI chips. Paramount submits higher offer to Warner Brothers in bid to block Netflix. China's DeepSeek trained AI model on NVIDIA's best chip despite U.S. ban. If I don't see anything else here, I'm pretty much going to be done with the news. Yeah, we're going to be done with the news there. A couple charts I want to look at. Okay. All right. We're looking at the bullish percent index. It's at 62%. Still not that bad, right? That's our S&P 500. Now, if we go to the NDX, that's at 48%. Okay. If we drill that down, now that's only if it means 48% of the NDX is on a buy signal. Now, if we go drill that down to Infotech, okay, drill it down just to technology. This is degrading again. Down to 39% of the bullish percent index. We were down to the 27s not too long ago, and that was kind of oversold, and then we pushed up it now, like IBM yesterday. Claude Code from Anthropic is causing disruptions in cybersecurity, and they talked about something about IBM yesterday, which shoved IBM down big time yesterday. This is a big disruption right now. It's so weird that now AI was thought to like get this AI bubble, this pop, but now it's hurting a lot of software. So very interesting. Just wanted to go over those charts. We can move on to the market internals. Market internals were very, very weak yesterday. All right, now, when we look at the market internals recap, there's a very important thing to note, which I was telling my community yesterday. Okay, was we dropped like $10 from the top to the bottom in, like, let's say SPY. That's 100 points in futures. Okay, so these internals are going to be weak. See, they kind of bottomed here, and see, they never really went lower. They did stay low. Okay, they did stay low. And you had a couple inflated negative numbers there. So, but everything was red, hence the drop. Once we hit that low, see, we never hit that low again. So whenever we drop that much, these internals are going to be very weak. Then you had a couple of blips of recovery, and it was pretty weak. It was. But again, like our market, a very weak market rips this low apart. Okay? So that's why I was just holding long. That I was looking for a long. I didn't think the short was probably that great. I mean, my long, I got in around here somewhere. This is the SPX, but same thing. And then see, this is where it rode up, and I went all the way up to here for me. And then it whipped me out at break even. Once that volume comes in, around 330 and then 350 with the mock imbalance, that's what got me out. And then look, it eventually came right back up there. So, like I said, the risk could have been dialed in a little better for that trade. Okay, we're going to move on to daily charts now. Okay, there's not much to talk about here because we're not doing anything. Okay, so look at that. Remember I talked about that sugar rush on Friday. No tariffs are illegal. Okay, we already priced that in anyway. And now Trump's trying to do a 15% tariffs global, right? And look what we did. We came right up. Right up. I don't, we didn't, do we hit? Yeah, we did hit it. So we took out Fridays and then just sold off. That was Friday's close. So see, we opened here, came right up here to Friday's close and last week's highs, and then sold off, swept Friday's lows, hit the 100-day moving average, and closed here. Okay, where are we now? 683.35, 683.35, right here. We're in the lower third of this session. Now look, it's basically the fourth session in a row in this area. Okay, so futures. Now futures, look, just staying in this area. You swept all these lows yesterday. That's why I wanted to go long. All those lows were swept. Right? Now, if we can't go lower, balance rules say we got to go higher. Now, we already have AMD up. We already have semis up. Technology's up. Does it finally catch a bid today? I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. Qs. Qs, you could see even longer been in this balance. Remember, software has been getting hit. Software has been getting hit. You could even see in the Qs, we kind of stayed with it. We didn't even hit the highs of Friday. We stayed within the range, really, and just barely hit the previous day's lows. Okay? And this last month's lows has been a problem. That white line. Okay, where are we now? 604 and change. 604. We're a little relatively stronger this morning in that Nasdaq because of AMD, technology, and semis are up. So they're a little higher up in yesterday's session than the ES is. Okay? Let's look at the Nasdaq. Okay? The Nasdaq, look at this balance. That is crazy. That is just not doing anything. It's not doing anything. Look at this sideways. That's from February 13th. We really have gone nowhere. This just really means we're queuing up for a very big move. Which way it goes, I don't know. I don't know. Right? But see, we swept this low. And now, look, we're making a higher low. So let's see what happens. Okay? That's why just day trading right now, I took one trade yesterday, is literally just sitting back and going, all right, do I have an edge here? Like, is this my setup? Is this something I've seen a million times? A lot of times it's very conflicted, like yesterday. We were very weak, and I'm like, this could be a long, but I think more times than not, I got to really honor thy internals, is what I like to do. Okay? Sometimes it does ignore it. Most times I'm probably right sticking with what I'm seeing. Okay? Now, let's move over to the hourly charts. Okay? Again, the name of the game here is balance. And like I said to you yesterday, pre-market, it always looks like the market is going to break out in balance. And it always scares people. Okay? Does a very good job of making you think, like yesterday, oh my God, is this it? Is this the sell-off? Is this really going to happen? No. Okay? It always makes you feel like that. So let's look at this together. Of course, why would the marker want to work today? Give me a second here. Give me a second. All right. Here we are. Here we are. All right. So we talked about it yesterday. There was our balance. And I talked about those 47s, right? Right here. Well, we took them out. But what couldn't the market do? One time to try to go lower. Another time. Another time. Another time. And it couldn't. It couldn't. Real selling doesn't do that. Okay? You don't need that many times. It just goes because we're weak. So what did we do? We swept and kept closing back inside this range. Okay? Now we did try to come up here in the overnight, hit the most traded price of the week, failed, and now look, we just swept this low. So what it looks like the market's trying to do is we want it to break this swing high, recover, and then where are you going to go? Back to balance highs around 69.31s. That's what maybe I would expect because look, technology and semis are leading. AMD is getting a lot of love this morning. Okay? And again, that's what I expect. But what is the quote I love? Brian Shannon, right? The market will do what we expect in the least obvious way. So this could do one of these. Oh my God. And then whoop, whoop, whoop. Then goes. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. It's weak. That's why it's a tough thing to do is trade. Okay? Because little time frames make you think, oh my God. Whoa, whoa. Get you all emotional, right? And at the end of the day, sweep, 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 sweep. Right now, look, we're back inside the range. Okay? And you got to think about this. If somebody was short and they went all the way down here and they couldn't get lower, that's a take profit. Whoop, that's a take profit. Whoop, that's a take profit. And now, how many shorts are left? You got to think about that. How many shorts are left? You think these shorts are still there? Maybe. Right? And then look, tried again, swept. Market's moving up. So I'm going to look for that today. Okay? And again, we'll adjust accordingly. There's not going to be much difference. You're just going to notice that the Qs are doing something that the ES is not doing yet. Look at this. Right? This is the swing low. This was not swept, but we know we're relatively stronger this morning in technology in the semis. Here's our balance. What did we do yesterday? Came right here, right? To this swing low, and NASDAQ barely broke Friday's lows right here, right? Look what it did. Couldn't do it. A weaker market rips through that. Okay? Then what do we do? In the overnight, recovered, hit the most traded prices, ultimate balance, folks. Ultimate balance, 249s, most traded price of the week, most traded price of the month. What did it do? Rejected a little bit, made a swing low, came back up, and now look, we're challenging this swing high. Picture this as the mean. And now when you have ultimate balance, right, and you're in a balanced area, okay, when you're in a balanced area, this a lot of times might be initially hard to get through, but once you this, then it's just clear sailing to the other side of balance. Okay? That's what I would expect today. Why not, right? Eventually these shorts had their run, tried to break lower, couldn't. Now they're probably gone. And any new short that comes in, it's a trap for us to go higher. Okay? Because what did the markets told us? It can't go lower, it can't go higher, so therefore we're in balance, right? Until that stops, that's the story of the market. And I always say, label the market. We're in balance. Okay? If you don't know how to label the market, then label the intraday, what's going on. You don't have a process. You don't have a trade plan because you just can't apply the same thing to each day and to each environment. It doesn't work like that. You know, not going to just buy a pullback when you're in balance. Okay? It doesn't work the same. You have to have different setups that apply to different days. Okay? That's when you'll notice you'll trade less and go, okay, this is what should happen in this type of day. Like every day that I see, I know what typically happens. I'm not like, I don't know. I mean, I might be like, I don't know what's going to happen this week, but generally inside of a day, I know what's going to happen. It's just like, but you never know how it's going to happen, and that's where trading comes in, right? You don't know. I might know, hey, this probably will happen today, but you never know the details because it always happens in the least obvious way a lot. Sometimes it happens in the obvious way, but more times than not, it's a fake out, it's this, you get stopped out, and then the real move happens, and then it's like, oh my God, that's annoying. That's annoying. Okay? So let's look at this. There's not much to go over here. We're going to get right into scenarios, but I'm just going to map out. We're in balance. We know that already. Okay? Nice little sweepy right here. Okay? Sweep again from yesterday. Now, could this turn over? Sure. It can. Right? So maybe what I could see also happening this morning with AMD being up so much, a lot of times when it's up that much, it will like sell off and then like do nothing. So maybe that propels the markets down. I don't know. Remember, Nvidia reports earnings tomorrow. Nobody wants to hold that bag, all right, in the markets for Nvidia's earnings because we don't know what's going to happen. It could rip up. It could have great news and rip down. It could have bad news and go up. Nobody knows. So nobody wants to be a bag holder unless you're a gambler. So think about that in our market. Do you think we're going to just sell off before Nvidia's earnings, not knowing what's going to happen? No. That even makes this, my long bias to the upside, even more probably probable, but who knows? Probably probable. Okay? So, let's get right into it. I don't want to waste anybody's time here. And again, I don't get a lot of questions, but maybe I do a good job of explaining every morning because I don't see many questions. But let's get into it, and we're going to go right off with my long scenario. Okay? This is our price action from the overnights. It's not really telling us much unless the only thing it's telling us is that prices are being accepted down here. Okay? But we know we've swept liquidity, and we swept it again. Okay? Now, what would I look for? Well, this swing low, yesterday's lows. I really want to see this hold. So we can come up, and maybe this is the little bit of the bull trap at first. Oh, and then we go, and let's say we sweep it, close inside it. That's your long. And then if you want to target your most traded price of the week around the 68.75s, fine. There's a bearish for value gap right here. Okay, but that's also poor structure. Notice the single prints. All we got to do is hold this, and you're free. You're free to go back up to yesterday's sets. Look at all of this one-way traffic. These are single prints. This is thin volume. It should rocket back up because what's going to happen is the shorts are going to have to cover, and it's going to fuel the move. Okay. Honestly, that's what I'm really hoping for. If you take out yesterday's lows, can it still work? Yes. I would rather have this, though. That's all for longs. Shorts. Now, there is a viable thing here, okay? So, shorts. I mean, what I would like to see, okay, let's say we come up, push up, and try to take out this most traded price of the week. Into this imbalance, the bearish FVG, right? Fail. Now you could target overnight lows, right? Now, gravy on top for a short would be take that out, go to the RTH lows of yesterday. Now, does this become the breakout to the downside? Maybe. Go all the way down to the previous low of 67.91. Okay? This is not on my front burner. It's on the back burner. But I will trade accordingly. Okay? Trade accordingly. Now, what would be something that I'm not the most fan of is if we dropped, and then you'd have to see if we hold. In this balance that we're in, I'm not a fan of really shorting that. But I'm not a fan of that because you could get your face ripped off and we go back up. So that's it for the ES. Nasdaq's not going to be much different. Okay, Nasdaq's not going to be much different. Remember, it's higher up in the session. It's higher up in the session. You can see it. It's at the midpoint of yesterday. So the Nasdaq you can see. In the midpoint of yesterday's session, the ES is more in the lower third. And we're hitting that ultimate balance. So, the better bet today now, if the technology and semis stay strong, your better long is going to be in the Nasdaq. If it stays relatively strong, it might not. Okay, it might not. So let's go right into scenarios here. Okay, we're going to start off with the long. The long. Okay, now remember, off that open, it's friggin' wild. It's friggin' wild. It's bonkers. There's a lot of volumes, the highest volume in the day. Okay, it's wacky. You know, even though sometimes I could have setups there, I'm not very confident because I don't know the story of the market yet. Nobody does. It really has to be a super, super, super duper A plus setup that I want to get into within the first 10 minutes of the market. It's got to be super like edge off the charts for me to want to do it because I like to see more of the story of the day. And then you wind up getting an opportunity because now you have more data. In the morning, in that early volatility, you don't have it. It's really wacky. You could tell the way the candles move, they're wacky. So you don't want to get the shooken out. Okay? So we know ultimate balance is at 249s. So what are we going to look for? Right? I would love to go, oh, there it is, the long. Nope. And you just take out, sweep right here, the overnight lows. Maybe you tap most traded price of yesterday. Come back right back into this. That's your long. Ultimate balance could be your target. Now, if you break that and then you get your pullback, that would probably happen. You got single prints up here that you could just ride up to the balance highs. Okay? Now, this is picture perfect. Does it happen? I don't know. Now, we could also go like this. Have an open drive on the open. Boom. And then do this, and then you have the long there. I'm not. Now, you do have. No, one thing in the NASDAQ that's different than the ES. Yesterday's low is not much far away from the support. We only broke the Friday's lows by a little bit. It wasn't really that deep. So, one thing here that's a little different is if we did sell and sweep those lows and then recover back in, that could possibly still be a long. Now, if you dropped all the way from here, the internals will probably be skewed. So just be careful. All right, now, shorts. All right. This could definitely reject here. Look, we have another like little sweepy sweep of the last two 30-minute candles here. This is ultimate balance. Remember, big moves happen from ultimate balance. Okay? Not saying this can't be a winner. So, if you come up here and fail again, ultimate balance, you can drop overnight lows or traded price of the yesterday. Maybe hit yesterday's lows. Like I said, I'll trade accordingly. I'll trade accordingly. But I'm more want to lean on a long, but this is definitely viable. Okay? And then possibly you get your breakout down to the downside out of ultimate balance, 2449. 24449. Okay? But reason I'm not really excited about it is because what have we been doing? We fail to sell off. We fail to break out to the upside constantly. Remember that there's going to be a day when we get out, maybe tomorrow. Because why? Nvidia's earnings, right? So don't be a bit. Nobody wants to be that bag holder. Majority of people do not want to hold the bag. Okay? We'll see. We'll see. Now, sometimes you do this, and then because Nvidia's earnings is tomorrow, there's a de-risk, and it gets right back into the range. So multiple things can happen. All right? That is it for me, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed that analysis. All right? Smash the like button if you did. Okay? If you did. Now, hopefully you join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert. I'll give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar, the leaders and the laggards. I gave you a bunch of technical analysis, and I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios in the NASDAQ and the ES futures. Okay? So, if you want more in-depth. And I mean in-depth. I know a couple of my community members, if they're watching this, they can attest that I go over a lot of stuff. I always rehash the story. I don't like to get too caught up in the small moves. The internals show me the way the majority of the time. Okay? And then these little sweeps that happen are very powerful. Okay? Because they signify the end of the shorts or the end of the longs. Okay? That's just how it goes. So, hopefully, you come join my Discord, Confluence Trading. Click on the YouTube homepage. Click on the YouTube. Go to my YouTube homepage and click on the link and sign up. Okay? Sign up. Take advantage of my in-depth analysis. Take advantage of my gamma flip points that I share with the community. Take advantage of the expected move script that I make on Monday morning, and I share it in my channel, the weekly expected move for Thinkorswim. 70% of the time, all the tickers I have in that script close for the week inside that range. That is a very big edge to have. So big warning flags go off if things are hitting the expected move to the upside, expected move to the downside, including the QQQ, the SPY, and the SPX. Okay? Those are all included in that. So sign up and grab the free script, okay, for your Thinkorswim. You can also see it on your phone. All right? Now, everybody have a great day. Remember, no trade's a trade. And remember, we're in balance. One day we'll break out. Who knows when it will happen? Okay? We are set up for a monster move. Maybe NVIDIA is the catalyst. Okay? So, if I don't see you in the Discord, I will see you tomorrow